It's Ron Slay, brought to you by our friends at Dynasty Pools and Spas. Let's go ahead and dive into a couple of different things. First, Ron, how are you, sir?
Feeling great, man. How you guys doing?
I'm good. Yesterday was
tremendous.
Fun. Yesterday was fun. I got my son in town for spring break. It fell, and we watched it all day, and it was just kind of okay, I thought. And then the night after, at about 4 or 5, 6 o'clock, then you start having a couple of upsets, and obviously Kentucky got beat. I'm wondering, can I ask Caleb something about how I should host the show real quick?
Yes, please do.
Okay, Caleb, should I bring up our earlier topic because I think it's so funny about the post on the Kentucky basketball?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. I want to hear what Ron has to say.
I don't have the post with me, but I saw it, and I can send it to you because it's hilarious. Guy on Kentucky message board says, "What would you do if you could guarantee that Calipari's fired?" He said, "I would sleep with your dad." The guy responded, "I would too."
Yes, he said he'd sleep with his own dad.
Wow. Okay, they got me with that one.
Ron Slay's speechless, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's hey.
I've been trying to do this for 20 years.
Yeah, I think the part that got me is the I would too. Like I think it was enough with him doing it. I think why you got to join in, but okay. I guess when you want them gone, you want them gone.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same time or you have. I don't know how that works. But anyway, Ron, let's dig into it. Tennessee looked, I thought, fantastic last night, but I do have to say, in all fairness, that St. Peter's team was just completely outmatched physically.
Yeah, and you know that's the funny thing. I kept trying to explain to people coming into it. These teams that you see, you get familiar with the names, and you start to automatically think of the Cinderella runs, the dominance they may have had, instead of looking at the product that they're putting on the floor. When you look at Kentucky, it's the same thing. I don't understand why everybody was surprised that it happened that way. Like this, you were depending on a team to score through the NCAA tournament, not play defense, but score all the way through. Not a mix, but just outscore everybody. So when you look at St. Peter's, I thought the same thing. This is not Shaheen Holloway's team. There's one guy left over from that Cinderella run that they had, and it was a great one. A friend of mine that coaches with them now, he led them in scoring. And I think it's the top 5 in NCAA history. Keidron Clark is on the bench, and we were texting before the matchup, and he was like, "Man, this team looked really good on film, man. I can't wait to see what they look like up close." And it lived up to the hype, man. I think they got to see everything they thought they would when looking at a Tennessee team click on all cylinders and play the way they play, even with all the turnovers they had.
Yeah, so Ron, I agree, and also I think you got to be the team that can score from the outside, because if you're a team that plays inside out basketball at that smaller level, you're playing inside out with 6'6", 190 guys, not 6'11", 230 guys like Tennessee has. And I said before the game last night, Jonas Ada would dominate. So I don't really read too much into that. But did we lose Ron?
Yeah, I think we lost Ron. What was the question going to be? I'll see how there we got Ron.
Oh, here he is.
There you
go.
Go ahead. What'd
you do, Ron?
That must be somebody from Kentucky. They're trying to get me off the airwaves, man.
Or their dad.
maybe a group of dads.
Oh no!
Oh gosh! Oh.
Please ask the question, Caleb. Just ask a question. Any question about basketball.
Do they have dad bods, or are they?
No.
Hey, nobody knows.
So I guess where I'm at, Ron, is I didn't really care about Adu dominating. I knew that was going to happen. I think the positive from last night's game was that Tennessee was back in rhythm shooting from outside, which is, they were horrible against Mississippi State. You can disagree with me. I think they tanked that game, but were you encouraged by the rest of Tennessee's offense being in rhythm last night beyond just Adu dominating down low?
Yeah, I look at it, man. You take coming into this matchup, I thought Dalton would be Dalton. I thought Zakai would be Zakai. Jonas would be Jonas. Santi, given opportunities, would be him. Josiah would be solid. Still looking to get him going and scoring, but I like him looking at the basket and taking his chances. My thing walking into it was the bench. What are you gonna get from the bench in this tournament? That's the team. That's the people that we need to have the most confidence, because when you get to playing these back-to-back games And you always scout the starting five without question. When you walk into it, you know what they are, the top 6, top 7, but it's that 8th, 9th man that can come in. And we've been waiting on this all season. You can get JP Estrella in to be able to get you some valuable minutes, some fouls, some rebounds, defending the basket. And also, a guy like Jemai Mashack to be able to knock down some buckets, Gainey as well. You got 24 points from the bench. You know what I'm saying? And I think I'm taking out the 2 from DeLeon, the 2 from Carr, not really counting those, because it was garbage time. But to be able to get a flow with those guys is as important as it is to get with the starters, because there's going to be plenty of times that you run into a team and you may not be shooting your best, and it may just be your starters. You may get a spark from your bench, and that's what you're going to need to help carry you through. The depth is always going to be key without question. I expect these guys to have their rhythm because that's the way they've been playing all year. I thought it was good to see Jonas do it, even though we wanted and expected him to dominate. He's one of those guys I think that he needs to build. So him building throughout that game was really good to start off that way.
So, Ron.
Uh-oh.
I don't even know where this is going.
I don't either. I have no clue. Somewhere we don't.
Are you ready to admit 2 weeks ago when I said Tennessee should just stop playing until the NCAA tournament and they'd be fine, that I was right?
No.
Because that's basically what they did?
No.
That's not what they did.
No, it's not what they did. And it's not. I'm not agreeing with you, Caleb. Because if that's the case, everybody in the country stopped playing. Houston stopped. Kentucky stopped. Alabama stopped. No. So Auburn was the only one that said, you know what, we're going to keep rolling. No, I'm not agreeing with that, Caleb. Not at all.
They tanked the SEC tournament. They tanked it last week, Ron. Come on.
Well,
no.
Hey, Ron, now they did not. Caleb's dead wrong on tanking against Kentucky at home on senior day. That to me is crazy.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for Rick Barnes to run some things that he knew might not work well against A&M, to kind of do some different things. He doesn't say go lose, but can you manipulate a game where you play, well, you play okay, but at the end of the day, you kind of prefer to lose it? Can you even do that?
I would say, yeah, if it didn't come down to you just missing shots. Like those guys were just missing shots. That was the separating in the game. They missed wide open threes, got different possessions, different chances in possessions to knock it down, and just couldn't make it. You look at Zakai last night, and the open shots, like he was nailing them. Those were these exact same shots he was getting in the SEC tournament. So Dalton the same way. Like those guys made shots. I thought that was the difference in it. You can, to your point, manipulate it if you want, but you can't manipulate guys from putting the ball in the hole. Not when you're open.
True. I've always heard, Caleb, before you jump in there, I heard this from a bookie, that the way you fix games in basketball, it's not by missing shots or turning the ball over. It's not playing defense. Yeah,
not playing defense, and you got to tinker with the lineup. And I think that would have to happen. And he's stuck with his guys. So
right. Well, nobody's saying. Yeah, nobody's saying.
No. Yeah, no question. No question.
Okay.
Fair.
We're gonna put an investigation on him.
I can't stay out of trouble today, Ron. Go ahead.
Well, either way, let's put it this way, Ron. Do you think it works I know at least you were this way because I was. You were worried about their lack of depth all year. You were worried they wouldn't be fresh in the NCAA tournament. Did it kind of work out in their favor that they're back in rhythm and they really only played one game in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think that's what, and I think that's why you got to see the extended minutes last night with those guys playing. Trying to continue to keep them in rhythm and play 28 to 30 minutes. And, get the legs up under you. Hopefully you had to go get a second win. It looked like it a little bit outside of Zakai. It looked like guys had to, push themselves to get their second win, and they were able to do that, come back in and get into a free flow. And I think that's one of the biggest things going into tournament play, especially the NCAA tournament. You're so hype. You're so hype, man. You run out of energy so fast because you haven't been in that spot. I think you got to see those guys get their legs up under them come out and play hard. I think that's a little bit where the turnovers came from too early on. But they're in a good spot right now, man. So, yes, the rest, if that's what it was, it did help. They look springy too.
Okay, so that's interesting you say that. So is that just the first game that you're kind of over adrenalized?
I think it's all first games, and so it would be a Sweet 16 game, Elite 8 game. I mean, no, Sweet 16 game and a Final Four game. That's what I would think. You know, you're trying to get your bearings up under you, and it like because you haven't experienced that. You know what I'm saying? Like you haven't experienced the hype of it, walking into it, and you know everybody being ready to go. The build up, you've been building up all week, and that's another thing with the time off. You just continue to build. You're like, man, let's get out there. If you've never been in that position, it's a little bit more difficult. So that's why it's always good to have guys like Santi you can lean on. You got to imagine Zakai being extremely excited to play, Dalton being extremely excited, Jonas in his role being excited to get out there. So it's I think it always is in that first round game. You probably get all the way to the first media timeout, then the starters are kind of settled in by then.
That's interesting. And you guys got put in a lot of football stadiums. And I wanted to ask you about that because we always used to talk about depth perception. Portions of the program brought to you by Don Self, State Farm agent there in Chattanooga. Customer service still matters. I know everybody wants the best rate, but he'll take care of you when that claim comes in. For 40 years, they built their business on taking care of their customers. 423-396-2126. Or just go to donself.net. It's right below. donself.net. It's right below in the description. So what's it like shooting in one of those football stadiums? Because to me, it always felt bizarre just to somebody covering it. I couldn't imagine playing basketball. It's just a surreal kind of weird feel.
Yeah, I hated it. I couldn't stand it. I'm so glad they moved the SEC tournament to Nashville, to Bridgestone. You got that type of arena instead of being in Atlanta or New Orleans and places like that, man, where you're in these domes. That depth perception is a real thing. You're used to things going up, not out and up. So it's a little difference. But I think everybody adjusts. You know, that's why you want to play those non-conference schedules and these smaller tournaments and things of that nature so you can be in different situations. So you can be at least seeing it and have a idea of what it's going to look like, because there's nothing to prepare you with your adrenaline rushing and getting open looks. I think you saw it throughout the tournament last night, man. That adrenaline is a different animal, man. Especially for jump shooters, like you started pushing the ball a little bit, and things don't go the way you want them to. But these guys were able to settle in, man, and I love
that. Ryan, you know him a little bit, so I wanted you to address something else we were talking about earlier on the segment, which is. And I always have to I keep qualifying this because I want people to know I usually don't project altruism. It has to be emphasized. I don't project altruism onto coaches usually. I think most coaches are in it. They love players, they love their school, but they love themselves a little bit more.
By the way, projecting altruism is a really weird way for Caleb to say trying to be fake and a good person.
Yeah.
Projecting altruism.
Okay, what I mean is like, when coaches say, I'm all about development or this, I'm like, okay, maybe, but I think you're all about winning games and collecting that paycheck. But first, am I crazy for saying that Rick Barnes is maybe one of the few guys, though, that genuinely does care about player development over anything else he does as a coach?
No, I can't say you're crazy for thinking that. I think he shows it. If you ever get the opportunity to be around him, the way he coaches in between the lines and what he demands of you, that conversation is the same way when you pull you over to the sideline. It's only when you walk away from the court do you get to see the genuine laughter, funny-hearted Rick Barnes, the joking one. But when he gets in between those lines, man, it's all business. Like, you're out here with your time. Your time is precious, and mine is too. And he treats it that way. So why wouldn't you go out here and get better? I think he's one of the guys, man, that doesn't just talk about it. And then when you see guys working out, and it may be like this around the country, but I know with Rick Barnes, he's there at the workouts. So it's no, we're just going to let the assistant run it, man. No, he's going to pop in too, even if he's just doing some work and not involved in the workout. He's in there checking it out, making sure it's to a liking, and you're getting something out of it. So No, I don't think you're crazy at all for saying that.
Good stuff. We were discussing earlier. Rick Barnes, is busy projecting altruism, but I wonder, amidst all that projecting, if he has time to think about the fact that Texas fired him, if he takes that personally. We actually put that as our poll question. Does Rick Barnes take it personally? And right now here is where that stands. Ron, I'll see what you think. It's about 50-50, 58 to 42%. Will Rick Barnes take the Texas game personally? Yes, they fired him after all, or no, he's a good person, too good a person. Where would you stand on that?
I think at this moment, when he left, it may have been a bittersweet leaving Texas, but I think, man, when just being able to talk behind the scenes and talk to coaches that were on his staff, when he got on that plane and he set foot in Knoxville, getting off the plane, kind of left all of that Texas baggage right there. Oh, wow. I think he removed that from his thoughts and was on to something new. I think the only way for him to have success in his mind was to be able to drop that, start off with something from scratch and build it up to where it is now. Being there 9 years, I don't think there's any animosity in his heart about it. Does he want to beat him? I think he want to beat everybody he plays. You know what I'm saying? So will this be even a little sweeter? Probably so when you sit back and think about it. And then you look at what terms this is under. This is to go to the Sweet 16 without question. But I think you walk into this situation, man, knowing that, that Texas, I gave everything I had. And anytime you can walk away from those situations, you understand where you are and you're on the greener pastures, you're in a good spot.
Good stuff.
Ryan, he talked the other day about just how much the tournament failures have eaten at him over the years. We have some theories and philosophies that he practices his team too hard, things like that. But then I wonder, Virginia gets first round exits every year, but they did win the national championship one time. And I'm thinking, is it just happenstance, law of averages, just bad luck that he hasn't advanced more than it is anything else in the tournament?
Well, I know for sure the Purdue, just look at the last 6 years, the Purdue game, that was the phantom call. The Michigan game, guys just couldn't throw a rock in the ocean, man. Like, they got looks, and Hunter Dickerson actually made his shots. They got great looks in the corners. Just didn't make it. Like, to me, when that's the case, it's nothing. He can't put the ball in the hole. So I think, yes, it's some bad luck with it, but it's not because of him. It's just his guys can't make the shots. When his guys make the shots, we're not having these problems. And I'm not talking about going 100% or shooting the way that Kentucky did at Tennessee with those guys not missing. I'm saying just average shots, making those shots, playing accordingly or up to average of who they are. It's never in question. But I've yet to see him strategically outmatched in the last 5 or 6 years. You know what I'm saying? I can't point to one where I was like, man, dang, wow. They threw something at him. I don't think them boys are ready. That's not been the case. His guys are ready. Just got to convert and make the shots. Defense has been the same. It's ongoing, man. It's you just gotta get over the hump. That's why you look for guys like a Kevin Durant. You look for guys like a Dalton Connect to be able, when all else fails, give them the ball and get out the way. But in order to do that, you got to be able to get to that point. You got to play the right way on both ends of the floor to get to that point, so you have those moments where you can give them the ball and say, all right, take us there. It's the Auburn game at Tennessee. Take us there, dog. Let's do it.
Yeah, Ron, I was told that Rick Barnes's practices are incredibly intense right up until the end of the season, and that maybe some of his guys get beat down a little bit. Does that hold water at all from what you hear?
Yeah, I can see that. I've heard that, and I also been able to see a Chris Beard practice as well, and he is the same, and he's been successful everywhere he went. The same way he treated the guys at Texas Tech going on that Final Four run, what he was about to create at Texas, the same exact way what he's doing at Ole Miss. When I say intense, I didn't think it could get more intense than Coach Barnes. Coach Beard, man, he on a whole different level. Like this, I was watching these guys at shoot around, and he was going bananas. I'm like, wow, this is. And I mean, to each his own. I like that, you know what I mean? Because I don't have to do the yelling and screaming if I'm on the team. He gets to do it, and keep people. But everybody doesn't respond correctly to that, So, Coach Barnes, he got away with it.
Ron, I'm going to use you as a vessel to get revenge on Dave real quick. During the season we have Fred White on the show, and with Fred White on the show, Dave Hooker called me out last year where I didn't have Fred White on my list of top 10 seasons by a safety of all time. So,
well, that's because I was dumb.
So,
it's dumb. That was crazy.
Oh, wait, but I'm going another level because Ron, Dave took a very unfair shot at your college roommate this week.
Oh,
where we were comparing defensive lines this year, which is more about the edge rushers with James Pierce, and the one of 2001 with John Henderson and Albert Haynesworth. And Dave Hooker basically said, I'd now rather have James Pierce than John Henderson. Yeah, he said that.
I said may I explain myself, Ron? I said in today's day and age of where the pass is the key, okay, that I would rather as a whole be better. And I wouldn't have said this just 10 years ago, but I'd rather as a whole be better on the outside of my defensive front as opposed to the inside. That is 180 degrees of what old school Dave Hooker would have said 10 years ago.
Yeah, I'm gonna be
biased. Sense at all. I mean,
I know I can understand it a little bit. Especially the way they play. Nobody's going smash mouth and running it down your throat. It's all spread out. You need that speed, but man, to watch with him, Big Al, Rashad Moore,
Will Overstreet on the edge,
Will Overstreet, Darren Walker when he was like.
Peyton, what do you think of my opinion?
They're like, that is total bullshit.
Come on, get out of here,
Ron,
buddy.
Can you get John Henderson
I'm the trophy winner, man. That's all.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
The disrespect
that's actually
of Dave Hooker.
That's actually right after the Heisman Trophy presentation when they gave it to Charles Woodson. They said, "Hey, Peyton, what do you think?"
They're like, that is total bullshit.
That was right.
Right. Well, it was.
Well, Ryan, you tell John from me because people have tried to talk about retiring Eric Berry's number, and I love Eric Berry, but I've said from the start, you can't retire his number until you retire John Henderson's number. And
pretty factual.
I mean, I'm very big on that.
All right, buddy. Have a great week. Enjoy the game. And how's your bracket doing?
My bracket is cool. I had Kentucky getting put out anyway against Florida, so it's cool.
Good job throwing heat. Thanks, buddy.
Look at you, Ryan.